There it is.
Hello and good evening. My name is William Selm, and I'm one of the program chairman of the Indiana German Heritage Society Program Committee. And I'm introducing to our Stammtisch for November, which is Anna Sowder's. But before I get to that, I just wanted to put in a plug. First of all, Indiana German Heritage Society. It was founded in 1984, and we're dedicated to the study and celebration and sharing of all aspects of Indiana's very rich and deep German heritage. When I say rich and deep, the first Germans in Indiana, well, we don't know exactly who they were, but the first settlement was in New Harmony in Indiana, in southwestern Indiana, which was before Indiana statehood. And then, of course, we have German settlements throughout the throughout the state, and we are celebrating different aspects of that with our Stammtisch program, our monthly program. And just a note, and if you'd like to join Indiana German Heritage Society, I'm going to say, please do. If you'd like to donate, please give, because we have lots of things to do, and would like to touch bases with people who agree with us in that there's a deep heritage here, and some it's very personal, and others at a community level. And you don't have to be German or German American to be a member. Absolutely not. All you have to be is interested in the topic. And please join. Our next program, our next Stammtisch program, will be our Liederkranz, which is, and I'll give you the full name, our Christbaum. Let's see, Janet, help me out on this. Our Christbaum.
Oh,
Our Christbaum Liederkranz,
hold
Liederkranz
on, look at it.
und
Weihnachtsliederkranz und Christbaumschmuck Austausch.
I was suddenly tongue-tied there. So thank you, Janet.
Okay.
And you probably only give me a C for that. Janet's a former teacher. So, and we do the Austausch. So what you want to do to join with us will be at the Carmel Christkindlmarkt on Wednesday, the 13th of December. And we'll start at around 7 o'clock and at the Christkindlmarkt, and we're going to sing our favorite German Weihnachtslieder. And then also the Christbaum Austausch is, if you'd like, bring a Christmas ornament, and that's the Schmuck, Christbaum Schmuck, and wrap it up and put it in the basket. And then when you put one in, you can take one out and see what you bring home. Maybe you'll be thrilled. I'm sure you will. That'll be on the 13th. In January, we take a break to recover from all that Weihnachten. And then in the February the 8th, we will have a wonderful speaker by the name of Sven Schumacher. And Sven is the honorary German consul for the Bundesrepublik Deutschland. And so he's also the director of the Lutheran, what originally was the Lutheran Orphans Home, the Lutherische Waisenhaus. And he's going to speak about its 150 years of service to the community. And that'll be on the February the 8th. And then we have other programs which will be announced. So that out of the way, I want to introduce to you our speaker. And I've had several conversations with her so far setting this up, and been very impressed with her. And I'm going to introduce her by reading her introduction to the Indiana German Heritage Society. This was, she sent this email on the 16th of February of this year. She writes, "Hallo aus Deutschland. Hello, I'm a current sophomore high school studying in Germany for a year through the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange Scholarship. I live in a small town in southern Indiana, about an hour and a half from Indianapolis. Here in Germany, I live about 30 minutes from Cologne. I saw on your website, Indy and Cologne are sister cities. That's so cool. I'm passionate about teaching others, especially my fellow Hoosiers, about German culture, and was wondering if there's anything I can do with your society while I'm here in Germany. Viele Grüße, Anna Sowder. Wow. I didn't have to twist her arm to volunteer to do that. She was inspired by what she saw on the website, and of course, being in Germany in her immersive program. And so this is wonderful of someone to step forward and to share this experience. I'm going to let her introduce her own self, but I want to ask you to give your undivided attention to our speaker, Anna Sowder. Anna.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking tonight about my exchange year in Germany. Hello, I'm Anna Sowder, as he said, and now I'm a junior at Mitchell High School, and I'm an alumni of the CBYX program. So I'll get started off with, what is CBYX? And CBYX stands for the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange, and it's a jointly funded exchange program managed by the U.S. and German governments. And each year, 250 high school students are selected to spend a year in Germany, and then conversely, 250 German students spend a year in the U.S. And a little background about it, it was started in 1983 by Ronald Reagan, and he hoped to strengthen the ties between the U.S. and Germany through citizen diplomacy. And CBYX is a fully funded scholarship, and it comes with some cool perks. So we had pre-departure training, a language camp upon arrival in Germany, placement in a host family, admission to a German gymnasium, and then cultural excursions and seminars throughout the year. And we got to meet with German and American government officials. So you may be wondering, oh, sorry, I forgot to explain too that, so there's 250 students, but we're broken up into 5 groups, so 50 students in each group, and I was in the YFU cohort, and this is just a picture of all of us together after we completed the program, just celebrating our year and our time in Germany. And so you may be wondering why I decided to do CBYX. I don't have like really any relation to Germany, like none of my family members are German. I didn't take German in high school, so basically I was just ready for an adventure. I wanted to challenge myself, and I've always been interested in learning a new language, but had never actually done it. So I thought an immersive language program would be a great way to do it. And I also wanted to learn more about diplomacy and see if it was a good fit for me, because I was interested in like my future career being in diplomacy. And I thought now is the time to go out and explore and see if it truly is what I want to do. So yeah, I applied to 3 different state-funded programs. Those were YES, Flex, and CBYX. And ultimately, I chose to go to Germany for my exchange year, and I am so grateful that I did. I wanted to talk, I know some of you guys are German teachers, and you may have students who are interested in the program, so I wanted to give an overview of what the application process was like for CBYX. And it started with just a common application. There's a few essays, and I submitted that in December. And then I was named a semifinalist a few months after that. And then I had to do an interview with the YFU and CBYX representative, and that was done over Zoom. And then in March, I was named a finalist of the program. And then we had our PDO, like pre-departure training, and that was also over Zoom, and it was led by former exchange students, and we just learned about German culture, talked about living with host families, had like fun trivia nights and Duolingo competitions, and it was a good chance to get to know other CBYXers. That's kind of like what we called ourselves while we were on program. And so all in all, it was very valuable. And then in August, I think August 15th, we flew to Germany together. Throughout my time in Germany, I got to visit many cool places and see a lot of Germany and Europe as a whole. But there were 5 main cities that kind of had a big impact on my exchange year. So I wanted to talk about those for a little bit. And starting off where the blue arrow is pointing is Osterode. And that is where I had my month-long language camp. And I like to call it my first German home. So language camp took place in Osterode, and it is a beautiful village in central Germany with around 20,000 people. It was just so picturesque and how I pictured Germany to look like with like the half-timbered houses and the cobblestone, and it was just beautiful. When we first got there, we all were given a test to be put into like language levels, and of course, I think I got like 3 questions correct and was put in A1. So then we started meeting daily for language classes, and that was very helpful since I knew absolutely nothing. Even though I was just learning the basics, it was more than I knew before. The pictures that you see, the one on the left is just like the main like Marktplatz in Osterode, and then that's a picture from our language classes, and then a picture of just some of the houses in Osterode because I thought they were really pretty. And then while language camp was a lot of learning, it wasn't all sitting in the classroom studying. We also did a lot of fun activities. We would go out to eat at night, go on hikes, have like ping pong tournaments and basketball tournaments. And it was really cool because we got to hang out with some of like the local German teens at Osterode, and we became good friends with them. And they would help teach us German too and show us around the town. So that was really cool. We had guest speakers come in. We had a lady who was a part of the Green Party come and speak to us about her experience in politics in Germany, and she was really interesting. And I feel so bad because I cannot remember her name, but she's like the youngest member of the Bundestag ever, and that was really inspiring. And then while we were at Osterode, we took day trips to different cities. We went to Weimar, and excuse my pronunciation, but Göttingen, I've never gotten that name down, but we got to go explore the cities together. And I mean, honestly, I think going and exploring the cities was just as helpful in learning German as studying in the classroom because it put us in situations where we were forced to speak German, like checking out at stores or ordering at restaurants. And I was really lucky because my group of friends I made while at language camp, they all were good German speakers. And so when we go out together, they really push me and encourage me to practice my German because more than anything, it took a while for me to like get over them, but like the embarrassment and like any nerves I felt of trying to speak German. So they did a really good job of helping me overcome that. And we had a lot of fun visiting the cities. Weimar was so pretty, and I hope to go back to Weimar and explore more because I just know there's so much more I didn't see. While we did take some fun trips, we also took some more serious trips. We visited Buchenwald, and Buchenwald was established in 1937 and was one of the biggest concentration camps within Germany's borders. And then it was later turned into an NKVD special camp. And it had a really nice museum set up there that we got to walk through and just learn more about what happened specifically at that camp. And it was a very impactful exhibit to look through, and it was very emotional. I can distinctly recall after we went through the museum, me and a few friends of mine and we walked outside to kind of look around the grounds, and we came to the spot that was kind of in the woods, and we started to look around and we saw these posts like every few feet in the woods around us. And like the more you looked, the more of them you saw. And we thought, oh, that's kind of strange. Like we wonder why they're there. And then we walked up to like a plaque that was explaining that all of those posts were like marking graves of where people who died at the camp were buried. And it was very emotional. It really hit you. Like for me personally, that was the moment where I kind of like realized that all the things I've been learning about in a classroom my entire life, like it happened. And that really was hard to confront, but it was important to do that. And we had really good discussions later that day about just what we saw. And like I said, it was a very emotional, tough thing to do, but I'm grateful that I did it because now when I'm learning about this in school, I can share a different perspective with my classmates and I think it's important that we continue talking about this, and that now like I said, I have a different, more personal experience I can share with my classmates to hopefully help them understand more about what happened. Moving on from that. So after I'd been in Osterode, I was there for a month, and I kind of had my first impression of what Germany was. And I came up with some of the things that I really liked about Germany after that first month, and some of the things that I kind of didn't really like. The first thing I liked was walking everywhere. Um, Overall, I just felt healthier, and I just thought it was so fun to be able to like walk to the store or walk to a restaurant, because where I live here in Indiana, we live like 10 minutes from town and you can't walk to anything. So that was really cool to me. I really liked the Deutsche Bahn, which this is kind of silly, but ever since I was little, I always thought trains were like really cool and I always wanted to travel on them. And so then getting to Germany, I traveled on trains all the time and I thought they were the coolest thing ever. So I really liked that. I love the store Action, which like it's basically just the Dollar Tree of Germany. But I thought I loved seeing all the German candies and snacks, like all the Kinder chocolate and all the like pepper chips and stuff. So I loved going there and just stocking up on German snacks. I liked that all of the sidewalks and like roads and stuff were cobblestone because I don't know. I like things that are pretty, and I thought it was really pretty. It made the like aesthetic of the towns and cities look really cool. And then I liked the restaurants there. I They just seemed different from America. Like they were more relaxed and calm and laid back. And I really enjoyed going out to restaurants there and eating all sorts of yummy food. And then a few of the dislikes I had, everything being closed on Sunday. Like after a few weeks, I got used to it. But at first, that was like a huge culture shock to me because I was so used to being able to go to the store whenever I wanted to. And then the first time me and my friends and I walked to go get snacks one Sunday, and we got up there and the store said closed. We were like, what? What do you mean? Like, it's a Sunday, like, you should be open. And then our counselors were like, okay, we forgot to warn you guys, everything's closed on Sundays. And I didn't believe them that everything was closed on Sundays, but like, they were right. Um, okay, so the food, I wasn't a huge fan of it at first. I grew to love it after I was there longer, but like, I kind of got tired of just eating bread all the time. And I'm not a huge fan of like ham and like salami and stuff. And that was basically every meal at the youth hostel. So I was not a fan of the food. And then also, no air conditioning. Like we were in Germany, it was August, September, and it was just hot all the time. And I just felt like I never cooled down. And then like the quiet hours, I don't know. I thought it was kind of, they were so heavily like strictly enforced that I was kind of shocked that like people actually cared that much. But like I said, a lot of the things in the dislike column, it just took me time to adjust to it. So that was an adjustment. And then also the stores closing early was an adjustment for me. Okay, so then after I left Osterode, I went to my first German host family, and they were in Krelsheim, which was a city in Baden-Württemberg, close to the border of Bavaria. And my first host family consisted of me, my host sister, Emily, who was 15, my host mom and dad, and then I had a host brother who was 18. But at this point, he was like doing like Ausbildung, like he was kind of doing his own thing, but living at home. So I didn't see him a lot. But Kölsheim was a small city in the south of Germany. It had around 35,000 people. And yeah, so this is kind of like my daily life. This first picture is just a picture of downtown Kölsheim. The second one is me and my host sister dressed up for Volksfest, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then the third picture is a picture of my school. I was at my first host family, I was in a Realschule, and I was placed in 10th grade. So I really liked the school. I really liked the schedule, like having built-in breaks in my day. I liked there was a bakery in the school, which I thought was so cool. So I could go get croissants and pretzels whenever I wanted to. But one thing that was kind of weird for me that took some adjustment was that at that Realschule, everyone stayed in the same class for the entire day and moved from classroom to classroom together. So I came into a group of students who had been together since I believe 7th grade. And so they were really tight knit, like had their friends, and it kind of took a while for me to feel kind of like incorporated and a part of the class, like coming in as an outsider. So that was an adjustment. But like I said, everything, like all the bad things I tried to view as something that I just have to adjust to and get used to. And so in the end, it was okay. But that took some time. And I also at my school was in the sport AGI, like the sports club, which I really enjoyed because I'm a very sporty person and have always grown up around sports. So it was fun to be able to connect with a group of students who also shared that love of sports. And we would like play pickup basketball together and lift weights and go on runs. And I really liked being a part of that. And then the last picture, the fourth picture, is the Rat House in Köln, and they had like a night where they like put projections and lights all over the towers in downtown, and people just like hung out and ate food and danced and stuff to music, and that was a really cool night. And then the thing that Köln's kind of known for is Volksfest, and it's the biggest like folk festival in the region. It takes place every September, and over 400,000 people visit the festival. So it is huge. And what I thought was really cool about this was the first weekend I was with my host family, was in Köln. And the stereotypes I had about Germany coming in was kind of like the ones you see like on TV and stuff, like everyone holding giant beers and like eating pretzels with like lederhosen on. And then I went to this festival, and like I kid you not, like everyone had on lederhosen and dirndls and were drinking like liter beers and pretzels. And I just like thought that was hilarious because like it's my first weekend with my host family, and my host dad comes downstairs dressed in lederhosen, and I was just like, are the stereotypes true? But it was just them celebrating for that weekend, obviously. But I had a lot of fun. It was a good opportunity for me to hang out with classmates from school and start to make friends. Okay, moving on. While I was with my first host family, we took some trips, and one of the notable ones to me was to Austria. We went to a small town in Austria near Salzburg, and we actually went because my host dad was a huge Helena Fischer fan, and there was a Helena Fischer like music festival there, so we went to that, and then stayed in this beautiful town with the Alps around. And we went in October, so the leaves were all beautiful, and it was probably like the most breathtaking view I've ever seen in my life was there. We also visited Salzburg on the way home, and this is a picture of me in front of Mozart's house. I thought that that was cool to be able to see that. And then we went to a castle and toured it, and there was this really cool bird show there where like falcons like caught like mice and stuff. It was interesting. And then I'm a huge fan of the musical The Sound of Music. And so when we were in Salzburg, the entire time I was walking around, I was like, hey, that's from The Sound of Music. Like, that's the fountain they sing on. And like, I just was walking around, like, just awestruck because I really like Salzburg. It had a really cool vibe, like, with the university being there, like, a lot of students, a lot of museums and art, like, a lot of culture. And I really enjoyed Salzburg. And that's definitely a city I could see myself going back to someday in the future. Um, and then I thought I'd share a little bit about this cool experience, I mean, not experience, this cool opportunity I had around like the beginning of November. It was called Rent an American, and it was put on through the like German American Institute in Tübingen. And basically, Rent an American is where like Americans living in Germany, a lot of times as like exchange students or college students studying abroad, um, join this program, and then like high school, like gymnasiums, Realschulas, clubs, retirement homes around the state can request for someone to come give a speech about a certain aspect of American culture. And so I was invited to attend a workshop to become a part of that. And the workshop was just talking about how to share things about your culture. And we kind of picked certain topics we felt like we could present about. And I believe I chose college basketball and Thanksgiving because at that point in my time, like it was early November, it was almost Thanksgiving time, college basketball was starting, and I was kind of getting homesick for it. So I wanted to share about that. Sadly, I like changed host families before I had an opportunity to do this program, but just going to the workshop and learning about how to share my culture with other people was just helped me throughout the rest of my year, just like with sharing about America to my friends and my host families and stuff. And this was also a big trip for me because it was the first time I traveled alone in Germany. And I was so nervous to go on the train by myself, but I ended up missing my train on the way home, and my host brother had to come pick me up in like the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night, and he was not happy about it. But it worked out in the end because we had to ride for about an hour together, and it was the first time we really sat down together and talked, and we got to know each other. And so I like to see that as a silver lining, even though I was scared out of my mind when I got stranded, but it all worked out in the end. And then one last trip I took with that host family was to Erfurt, which was really cool. I am a huge history nerd, and so we visited like the Martin Luther Memorial, and then also Wartburg Castle. I don't know if I said that correctly, where he translated the older New Testament, the New Testament of the Bible. And I was like fangirling. Like it was like I saw a celebrity because I was like, oh my goodness, like this is where he did it. Like it was so cool. I loved being in Germany because there was so much history everywhere. And you'll see me talking about other cool historical things I saw because, like I said, I love history. But Erfurt was beautiful. I really enjoyed learning more about the Jewish history in Erfurt because I really didn't know anything about that. And it was a beautiful, beautiful town. And at this point, I've been in Germany for about 4 months, and I started to notice some key differences between Germany and the US, or more along the lines of my life in Germany versus my life in the US. And these are what stood out to me. The lack of high school sports really was like a culture shock for me, just having grown up with coaches and living in Southern Indiana. Like basketball's huge here, football, baseball. And so it was kind of weird to me to not have that aspect and like that culture going on within the school I was attending. I noticed this could have been just my first host family, but it seemed like families weren't as close. Like they didn't spend as much time together as my family does in the US. But also, my family spends a lot of time together. So that could have been more of just like a personal thing. And the next point kind of goes along with that. Teens are very independent in Germany, which I greatly appreciated because my host family treated me more like an adult, like let me go places by myself and counted on me and trusted me to do things on my own. And I really enjoyed being around peers the same age as me that also had that attitude and that ability because some of my friends in the US don't. I noticed there's a very strong work and life balance. Like I noticed there, like once the workday was over, they were done working. Like here in America, I feel like it's common to like bring your laptop home and like answer emails over the weekend or like at evening. But in Germany, it felt truly like once you were out of work, it was your time to relax, your time to do what you want to do. And I really like that. And I'm trying to kind of bring that same like lifestyle into my life in America, but it's hard to do. And then also I noticed days start very early. I am not a morning person, but when I was in Germany, I had to wake up at like 6 a.m. every day because school started so early, and I didn't really like that. But those are some of the things I noticed that were different about Germany and the US. So after spending a few months with that host family, I moved on to my second host family, and they lived in a small-ish village around 30 minutes outside of Cologne in Nord Rhein-Westfalen. And that was named Ulpa. And sorry, 1 second. Ulpa was in NRV, and it had around 20,000 people lived there. And this first picture is a picture of the church, the St. Martin Church in downtown Ulpa. And then the second picture, oh, I'm sorry, what happened? Okay, and then the second picture is from my school that I attended. I attended a private Catholic gymnasium when I lived in Ulpa, so it was the exact opposite of what I attended in Köln. And I liked going to two very different schools because I was kind of able to compare them. And I will say I liked the gymnasium a lot more. I liked that it was like older people there. I also liked that it was a Catholic school because I enjoyed going to the church services, and I joined the choir for a little bit and like would sing songs at the church services. And I really thought that was a fun thing to do. And here, my host family here consisted also of me And then I had a host sister who was 15 again, and then my host mom and dad. And we spent a lot of time together. We're really close still to this day. And this third picture is of our breakfast. We would have breakfast together every Saturday morning, and my host dad would run and get fresh bread from the bakery, and we would have all types of different cheeses and meats and jams and stuff. And we just sit there for hours and kind of just like talk about everything. So I was really grateful for those moments together. And then the last thing on this picture is every Monday, how my schedule was at school, I had the second period free. So I'd walk into town and go to this bakery, and I would sit there and journal for like the entire class period. And this was really nice because no matter how kind of like homesick I got, or if things were getting kind of stressful, or I was stressing about my German ability or anything like that, it was nice to be able to just sit down and kind of get my thoughts on paper and reset for the week. So I was really like that weekly journaling was a very vital part of my routine in Ulpa. And then next thing I knew, it was Christmas time. And oh my goodness, Christmas in Germany is magical. It felt like a fairy tale. I spent pretty much every weekend in December visiting different Christmas markets, and I had so much fun. I went to like the ones in Dusseldorf, Siegen, Bonn, Siegburg, Cologne. I went everywhere. But I'll have to say, I don't know if you guys have been like where you guys have been, or if you've been to any of these Christmas markets, but my favorite one for sure was Siegburg, because everyone there was like in character, pretending they were from the medieval times, and like they spoke a form of German that was spoken back then, and it really felt like you were back in time. It's like you stepped in a time machine and came out, and it was really cool. And then the picture on the far left is the Christmas tree. My host family did a really good job of teaching me all the German Christmas customs, while also like asking me a lot about how my family celebrated Christmas. And we kind of blended those traditions together to be able to have like a fun German American Christmas. And then on the far right is our Christmas dinner, and we had raclette, which that was life-changing for me. It was so delicious, and I don't know if my family knows this yet, but we're gonna have raclette for Christmas dinner this year. Okay, moving on. I thought I would just share with you kind of like my what I did on the weekends and stuff. I spent a lot of time in Bonn and Cologne, and I loved them so much. Bonn was so beautiful, and I really liked how Bonn was a big city, but it didn't feel super big. It felt very like manageable and kind of more had like the small town charm. I don't know if that makes sense, but these are some random pictures. The first one is from a thrift store I found in Bonn. I love like buying secondhand clothes, and I had the hardest time finding thrift shops in Germany. And then one weekend, my host parents like woke me up, and they're like, Anna, we're gonna go thrift shopping today. Like we're gonna go into the city and find all the thrift shops, and we're just gonna like help you shop all day. And it was a dream come true. I had so much fun. And then this next picture is from the Holy, I couldn't find, I don't think this name's right, but the Holy Name Church is how it translated into English. And it's in Bonn, like near the Altstadt, like pretty close to where like Beethoven's birth house was. But it was one of my favorite churches because it was kind of on the way into like the city center, and I'd always just pop in and like look at it. And I think the blue and the gold is beautiful. And then this last picture is just some cake from one of my favorite bakeries in Bonn, because I just loved German cake. Like it was more of like tarts and stuff, but I loved all the fresh fruit they used and like the cream and stuff. It was so yummy. And like I ate so much cake while I was in Bonn. These are more pictures from Bonn. The Bonn Münster Church was beautiful also. And the picture on the far right is from the Natural History Museum in Bonn. And like I said, I love history. So anytime I had a chance to go to a museum, I would go like 100%. Like my host dad would offer like, hey, let's go to this museum this weekend. And I'd be like, yes, let's do it. And let's go to this one and this one and this one. And I was lucky because my host dad also loved learning about history. So we went to a lot of museums together. And then this picture in the middle is probably, as you guys can tell, from Cologne. And here I am with two other CBYX students, Esther and Morgan. They came to visit me one weekend. Well, Esther lived in Wesseling, so she lived between Cologne and Bonn. And then Morgan came and visited from out of, I don't remember exactly where she lived, but she came and visited us. And we got our Starbucks and toured the city together. Here, here are more pictures from Cologne. Cologne became kind of like a home to me. It was kind of like my second home. It's probably my favorite place in the world, which I know that's a big thing to say, but I really enjoyed my time there because, well, first of all, you have the cathedral, and that was beautiful. Like every time I would go there, I would just walk in and I would, like, it was just so beautiful. It took my breath away. Um, I loved when friends, like other American friends or my German friends, like would come visit me. We would go to, I would take them to Cologne and show them around, and I felt so much like pride in like my home, like in my city, my little piece of Germany, like showing it off to them, taking them to my favorite restaurants and stores and shops. So I would just say that like it became like a second home to me. Here are more pictures from Cologne. The picture on the far left is from the Wallraff Richards Museum. I think I butchered that name, but it was a cool art museum that had a ton of art there. But what was more cool to me was who I got to go with. My host dad was originally from Israel, and then he moved to Germany to study, and then he stayed here. And so he was in charge of kind of cultural relations between Ziegen and Israel. And so we had a group of, I'd say, about 15 Israeli people come stay in Cologne, and we got to like tour the city with them. So we went to the museum together and toured the Jewish quarter. And I really liked getting to experience Germany through a whole new set of like eyes, you know what I mean? Like a whole new perspective. And so that was really cool. And the museum was pretty. I got to see like Monet artwork and stuff. And my mom's an art teacher and art history major. So like we were kind of like, she was kind of freaking out. She's like, oh my gosh, you got to see this. So that was cool. And then this is a picture of steak tartare. I had never had it before, and I tried it while in Cologne. And surprisingly, I loved it. Like it was really yummy. But once again, what was more special to me about the steak tartare was who I was sharing it with. I um my host dad invited me along to come with him to this dinner where some people from America and from Mexico had flown into Cologne because they had family members who lived in Cologne, but they sadly were victims of the Holocaust. So they got to come spend the week in Cologne learning about their relatives and like seeing where they grew up and touring their neighborhoods and installing memorials at their last known location. And then we all gathered together to share a meal after that and like sing carnival songs together and just share stories. So that was another very like meaningful moment for me. And I'm grateful for that. And then the last two pictures is from the botanical garden and then just like a random street in Cologne. I love the botanical garden. It's beautiful. And then my favorite thing about Cologne, I think, is that no matter where you are in the city, you could always see the cathedral. So it felt like you could never get lost because you just look up and see the two towers and be like, okay, like I can find my way home. So that was probably one of my favorite things about Cologne. And over spring break, my grandparents and sister came to visit me, and we had the opportunity to travel around a little bit together. We went to Heidelberg together and Brussels. And on the way to Brussels, while we were in Belgium, we stopped in at a cemetery where soldiers from the America that died during World War II were buried. And my grandma's uncle, or like great uncle, was killed in the Battle of the Bulge, I believe. And so we got to go look at his grave and have a little like memorial service for him and learn more about his time serving. And it was very emotional for my grandparents, and it was it was hard. It was another one of those moments where it was tough emotionally, but it was something that needed to be done. And so I'm really grateful that I got to experience that with my grandparents. And then the picture on the right is just my sister in Bonn. She had a lot of fun. After they visited me, they went on a cruise for like in Italy and Greece and didn't take me with them. So like I was a little jealous, but I got to show them around Germany. So that was fun. Here are just more pictures from Heidelberg. That truly, like Heidelberg was just as beautiful as everyone told me it was going to be. But yeah, I was just grateful they came to visit me. I had a lot of fun like showing off like Germany to my family and showing my family off to Germany. Like I took them to that one cafe where I'd go journal weekly, and the workers there were like, "Oh my goodness, is this your family?" and like talk to them and stuff. And so it was just a really cool time. And I got to show off my German skills because at this point I could actually kind of speak German pretty well, and my family was so impressed. So that was a fun time. And then sadly, they had to leave. But it wasn't too sad because I got to then go on vacation to Belgium with my host family. And we stayed on the North Sea in Canoca Heist, I believe is the name. And we were right on the water, and it was beautiful but cold. And then we got to tour Brugge, which was also probably my second favorite city in Germany, or not in Germany, that I visited because it was really pretty and the waffles were so yummy. And then the last picture, oh gosh, getting ahead of myself. The last picture is a church in a small village in Belgium that I cannot remember the name. These are just more pictures from our time in Belgium. Went out to eat at some fancy restaurants, and it was a fun experience to just get to sit down and share nice meals with my host family. Um, and then, so I've shared with you guys a lot of fun trips I went on, but my exchange year was defined by like my day-to-day life and the relationships I built within my host community. So I just wanted to share more about that. The picture on the left is my friends and I making pizza. And I had a great group of friends who really took me in from like the moment I showed up at school, and they helped me like learn German, meet new people, and do fun things together. So that's us having a pizza making night. I joined the golf team at my local golf course because I'm a huge golfer here. And so I joined there, made good friends through that, and just had fun playing a sport that I love. And then the last picture is I went to Phantasialand with my host sister and then two other CBYXers, and that was a lot of fun. Phantasialand was so fun. I loved it. I love roller coasters, so I was in my element there. And as you can see, we all were having fun on the roller coaster. And then more pictures. My host sister and I, like we were the same age and we were really good friends. And then our next door neighbor was also one of our best friends. So we would like go on picnics a lot. We just make different desserts and go sit by the creek in our village and eat and talk, play games. The middle picture is the Thanksgiving dinner I made for my host family. My host family was very adamant that they wanted me to teach them how to make an authentic American Thanksgiving dinner. And I mean, I spent weeks figuring out all the recipes, finding all the ingredients, and then one afternoon we all gathered in the kitchen and they wanted me to teach them step by step how to make everything, and I did. And they were shocked by the amount of butter we used. Like we ran out of butter and had to go ask the neighbors for more, and they were like, "There's no way you need this much butter." And I was like, "Yeah, we do." And then the picture on the far right is the view from my bedroom at my host, like at my house. I lived in a beautiful area. Sourland is really pretty, all the hills and mountains, and I miss that view for sure. Moving on, more pictures. We had a murder mystery dinner party for one of my friend's birthdays. That's a Polaroid of me, like my friends and I at a birthday party. And then the bottom right is me, my host sister, and our friend paddleboarding. The weekend before I left to come back to America, we had a little going away party at the lake and made food and cake and swam and just hung out one last time before I had to leave. So that was a good time. And then lastly, I just wanted to run through real quick the seminars I got to go on, as I mentioned at the beginning. And the seminars I went on were in Hamburg and Berlin. So our mid-year seminar took place in February and it was in Hamburg. We got to tour the city a lot and see a lot, and it was beautiful. Here are some pictures of me with my friends. We had a party one night, and then this is just me with some of my friends when we went out to eat. The mid-year seminar was very helpful because we all got to sit down and kind of just share about our experiences so far and maybe problems we faced and how we can overcome them. And we just leaned on each other for support on a lot of things. So it was a very helpful time and fun. And then we had the option, if we wanted to extend our seminar by then spending the next, like the following weekend in Krakow. So a few of us all flew to Krakow together and toured the city. And Krakow was my favorite city that outside of Germany that I visited. It was beautiful and had so much history and good food and just fun people. I just really like Krakow, and it's on the top of my list of places to go back. That was like Salzburg and stuff. Um, and then our end of year seminar was in Berlin, and that was in May. We toured the city, just pretty basics, all the big sites there. It was beautiful. And then I just wanted to talk briefly about one thing that really stuck out to me about our trip to Berlin was this museum that we went to, called Berlin Global, where it talked about, it talked about what happens in the world affects Berlin, and how what happens in Berlin affects the world. And it was a really interactive museum, and you got to learn a lot about the history of Berlin with like the Berlin Wall, and then about present day Berlin, just about the culture there. And I really enjoyed that and had a lot of fun doing that. Yeah. And then here are more pictures from Berlin. We had the opportunity to tour a Stasi prison, a former Stasi prison, and we were led, actually the person who led the tour, he himself was in prison there back when the Berlin was divided. So that was it was a very good experience to hear like firsthand an eyewitness recount their time there. Um, and it was tough to hear, like it was pretty upsetting. It was like all the other experiences, like tough to handle, but important. And then we had Bundestag Day while we were in Berlin, which is where we had the opportunity to visit the German Bundestag and learn more about politics in Germany. And this was a very special experience for me because it solidified my interest in one day working in foreign politics. And here's just a rundown of some of the activities we did on those seminars. The seminars were some of my favorite parts of my time in Germany, and I think if you asked all the CBYXers, they would probably agree. But yeah, that's just some of the fun things we did. We got to see a lot and learn a lot during those seminars. And then similarly, once we got back to America, we had a Washington, D.C. day where we met with members of the State Department in Congress to talk about our experience and ask them to keep funding CBYX. So those are some pictures from that. So after a quick run through of my time in Germany, I thought I would share some key lessons I learned while there. First of all, the first one may not seem important, but I learned how to use public transportation. I had never stepped foot on a bus, a train, a taxi, anything in my life until I went to Germany. And it was scary to me at first to have to navigate it all, but now I'm very confident in myself and feel like I could go anywhere and figure it out. So I'm very grateful for that. I learned the importance of community. I moved around a lot while I was in Germany, and no matter where I was, I always found a group to plug into, whether it be my youth group at the church I was going to, or my host family, or my friends at school, or other exchange students in the area. I always found a group of people there where we could support each other and ask each other for advice and go to each other with hard questions. And I realized how important that is, and that that's something that no matter where I am in the world, I need to make sure I have. I learned how big the world is. Like growing up in such a small town, going out to a different continent, like I realized there's so much more going on in the world that's bigger than me, and that it's important to be involved. I also learned how to advocate for myself. The exchange year was really hard. Like, even though I recall it fondly, there were times where I had to speak up for myself and my needs. And I learned how to do that because I was never really in a situation in America where I really had to stand up for myself. And I was thrown into situations like that in Germany. And so I learned how to stand up and stand up for myself. I learned that I'm capable of hard things. There were times where I thought I was not going to be able to stay in Germany. Like I was so homesick that I was like, I just need to go home like tomorrow. But I learned that even though it was so hard, I overcame it and I'm now better for it. I learned more about what I value in life. Being like ripped away from my family and everything I known was challenging, but I kind of learned what things are important to me, and that what core things in life that no matter where I am in the world, I'm going to hold on to. And then lastly, I learned the versatility of bread. I ate so much bread while I was in Germany, and I kind of complained about it, but if I'm being honest, I really want good, authentic German bread right now. Okay, and then I thought I'd talk about some of my future plans. I kind of saw CBYX as a launching pad for the rest of my high school and college career. I really hope to get into the Benjamin Franklin Transatlantic Fellowship at Purdue this summer. It's just a month-long program where you get to learn more about diplomacy and foreign relations. I just feel like CBYX was a great experience of learning about these things, and now I'd like to be able to learn more about like diplomacy in a formal classroom setting. So I'm hoping that that's something that could happen. After I graduate high school, I'm going to plan on attending college. I have no clue where I'm going to do that, but I know I want to major in like international relations, policy analysis, political science, pre-law, or something along those lines. I would love to spend at least another one more semester abroad while I'm in college and then eventually work in diplomacy. Doing what exactly? I don't know. But my exchange year really solidified for me that diplomacy is the field I want to work in because I really loved my time there and the opportunities I had to kind of step up and represent my my country. And I would love to do that in the future. So thank you guys for listening. I put my contact information below. So if anyone has any questions, like ask them now and feel free to reach out in the future. And especially for the German teachers here, if your students are interested in CBYX and have more questions for me personally or want help with the application, that is something I would 100% do. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. And now I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, real quick, great job, Anna. Really good. And I know Bill might want to say something, but just logistically, we have you guys all muted. So if you know how to raise your hand with in the reactions in your Zoom, just raise your hand like the down where it has reactions on your menu, and you just put your hand up like that. Inga is asking, what does NKVD stand for?
Oh, NKVD. So
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what the letters mean, but what it meant was after the war, like World War II was over and like Soviet Union got control of that part of Germany, they turned it into a camp where they then imprisoned like former Nazi officers.
Well, let me make a comment. NKVD was the very, very vicious secret police of Joseph Stalin era.
Okay.
So it was equal to the Gestapo and Stasi all rolled in together. So it's interesting where you said at Buchenwald that became NKVD camp, which is they had their own political concentration camp. And NKVD then later changed to KGB, which is the
Yeah.
secret police and espionage. So I found that very interesting. Your comment about that?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Becky has a question.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really interesting. I'm interested to know, did you stay with only 2 host families or did you move around more than that? And how was that? Right? Because if you're learning a new language and a new culture and you sort of get plugged in and then you got to move again.
Yeah. So how CBYX is set up, you are supposed to stay with one family the entire time. But how my situation was with my first host family is after a while, they like that. And during that time, everything was really expensive in Germany and they didn't really understand exactly what they were taking on with taking an exchange student. And so after a few months, we came to like the mutual decision that it would be best for me to move on to a new family. And so I then went to a second host family in Olpa, and the same thing happened. It was a pretty bad situation, but I ended up then pretty quickly, about a month later, moving from my second host family to my third and final host family, where when I was talking about tonight, all the things I talked about when I was in Olpa was with that third host family. So it was hard to kind of start to get settled and then be moved to a new place, but the situation that's just what had to happen, and I understand that. And I think that having moved around, it kind of made me more resilient, and it was also interesting to be able to learn like see the differences in culture between NRV and Baden-Württemberg, because there were key differences. So in the end, I'm grateful that it happened, even though that's not exactly how it was planned out.
So you had two homestays, right?
Yeah.
Krausheim and Olpa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now there's a connection with Olpa and Indianapolis. The Sisters of St. Francis that founded St. Francis Hospital here in Indianapolis, the main sister, the founder, she was from Olpa.
Yeah, actually some sisters from Fort Wayne came and visited my school while I was there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't really know what was going on, and then we all went for this like assembly, and then they introduced themselves. I was like, wait a minute, like that's where I'm from. And actually, a friend of mine goes to Marian University, and she knew one of the sisters personally. So it was like kind of like it's a small world type of moment.
Right, and then those sisters were in a nursing order, correct? They ran
Yes.
hospital. Right, exactly. That's what St. Francis Hospital is
Mhm.
here. And then you mentioned the Wallraf Richards Museum.
Mhm.
They had an exchange of artwork with Indianapolis Museum Art in the 1980s. And
Wow.
that was one of the first gestures of and activities of the Cologne Indianapolis sister city relationship. So
Awesome.
and that is the art museum of the city of Cologne, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. There's
Right.
also the Ludwig Museum for modern art, but the other one is like more like Baroque and impressionist art. Yeah.
And then and I made some notes while you were talking. So, oh, by the way, this was so well organized
Thank
and
you.
well rehearsed. I can tell you were really, really practiced.
Yes.
And it makes a big difference. It was both entertaining and informative, and your pictures are just wonderful.
Thank you.
The graphics that you assembled. But I liked your list of likes and dislikes, and your dislike was closed on Sundays. When I was a lad, Indiana stores were closed on Sundays.
Oh wow.
So,
Yeah.
like in Mitchell, which by the
Mhm.
way is the home of Gus Grissom, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
The astronaut, the famous astronaut from Indiana.
Mhm.
All the stores would be closed except for a drugstore and a gas station. So if you had an emergency, it could be taken care of. But no one went shopping on Sunday. And that, the good part is, and when Aldi first came here, Aldi closed on Sunday.
Oh wow.
But that gives people truly a day off. You don't shop, you have to go to work at a grocery store
True.
or retail. So, that's how we hit it here. And it was a good thing until people decided they wanted to shop 7 days a week.
We have a couple of questions in the chat. The first one
Mhm.
is from Novak and is asking to confirm, is the CBYX exchange program year-long? Which
Yes.
is it 10
10
months or a
months.
whole
Yeah,
year?
like an academic year.
Yeah. Also, you made mention of an interview process. How does that look?
So for me, it was different because of COVID. We did it over Zoom. So I just had like one interview with the CBYX YFU representative. And it was just about 2 hours of just talking, asking me different questions. It was pretty laid back, like more of a conversation than an interview, I felt like. But I will say now they're back to their practice of where they have regional interviews. I think there's one in Chicago, one in Atlanta, where you have to go for the day and you do, I think, multiple one-on-one interviews. And then you do a group interview where you are put with other prospective students, like semifinalists, and you're like given a task and you have to solve it together. And they just kind of observe how you guys get along to like see more of your personality. So that is different for like the upcoming cohort, which the application was actually due today for the 2024 cohort, which was kind of interesting timing, but that is how the interview looked for me and how it would look for new students.
And there we have another question from Vishal. Hopefully I said that correct. In order to travel from America to Germany, did the government fund your trip from America to Germany, or did you have to pay for the trip during the CBYX exchange program?
No, CBYX paid for everything. They paid for my regional flight to get from Louisville to Chicago and then to Germany. And then they paid for all train travel, like to and from host families to seminars and things like that. You would get reimbursed for pretty much everything.
So it's really a win-win
Okay.
situation when you're over
Yes.
there.
Yeah, the program's amazing. Like, there's no way I would have been able to do something like this without CBYX. So, okay, anything
And
else?
I had another question about when you were in Kreilsheim. That was in Baden-Württemberg,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, but it wasn't on the close to the border of Franken or Franconia? Because you said something
Yeah.
like
Yeah. It was in the east, like southeast of Baden-Württemberg. I don't know exactly how close to the border of Franconia, but like the Bavarian border was like 5 minutes from my house. Like you would drive like 5 minutes west, or no, it was in the southwest. You would drive 5 minutes west and you'd be in Bavaria. But I don't know exactly where it was in relation to Franconia.
And in Franconia, I was on a 4-H program 49 years ago in the United Kingdom. So, but I got a chance to visit Germany, and I visited in Mittelfranken, a place called Bad Windsheim. And I went back then, 23 years ago, and they had a wonderful, wonderful Freiland Museum. And it was so good, I didn't want to leave. It's funny, did you visit any of those? They're like folk museums. They're with houses and barns and workshops.
I didn't, no.
Well, well, the one for representing Franconia is that one in Mittelfranken, and
Okay.
I didn't want to leave it. I just love that.
There's a note from Melissa, who's one of our board members, and she is also on the Sister Cities Committee. She's the head of it with Cologne. And she loved your presentation. She thanks you, and it's in the chat. And don't we all love Cologne, she says. Isn't that the truth? I agree.
That is the truth.
She's planning to email you for further information and as a follow-up. Bill, she thanks you for organizing this.
Well,
Melissa, did you want to talk? I can open it up.
Well, this all goes back to that surprise email where we have this high school student saying, "Hey, I noticed what you're doing. I'd like to be part of it." And, and I didn't have to twist her arm or anything like that to do it. And that's so refreshing, and it gives me hope for the world.
Thank you.
That you want to move into it rather than avoid it.
Yes.
But I know your enthusiasm. It was such a great program, and you want to share that and share it with others and answer questions. That's really good. It's very commendable.
Thank you.
Another thing I might just add for our audience, this will be, recording will be out. If you know somebody, a student who might be interested in looking for an exchange program, whether or not it's Germany, this would be a great one to let them watch. And I put in the chat, IHS.org, IGHS.org, our website. And on our website in the next few days, actually, person that puts it on is out of town this week. So if you look back next week, the recording should be there. It's a YouTube, you'll find her presentation listed as this, Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange. And so it'll be available. You can share it. And Anna, you can share it.
Okay.
And then Anna, one last question for me, I promise. I promise, early in your presentation, you mentioned I think two other programs.
Yes.
And one was FLEX.
Flex, yes.
Yeah, what is that program?
So Flex Abroad focuses on former Soviet Union countries. It's the same idea as CBYX, but just with a different group. So I believe the program countries changes every year, but the year I applied, it was Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Poland, maybe. But that program did not happen that year because of the conflict in Ukraine. Well, it got canceled once that happened. So that one's more up in the air because those countries can be dangerous sometimes. But yeah.
And then what was the other program?
Yes Abroad is the same idea, but it's for predominantly Muslim countries, and it was created after 9/11. So that would have been like Egypt was one I remember because that was the one I was interested in, like Yemen, North Macedonia. And that also changes every year. I think there's like 14 or 15 countries, and yeah, so it's the same idea, but predominantly Muslim countries.
Okay. And it was during Reagan administration when we celebrated the tricentennial, the 300th anniversary of German settlement in the United States. So I wonder if that gave Ronnie an idea there.
Maybe.
Because there were official visits then from the German consular to here, and then Reagan there to into Germany for that year. So maybe that was a spark of something.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. Anything else?
Got another thank you from Dr. Vendi Westphal. She appreciates it. Oh, here's another question. What are the prerequisites for application?
Let me think. You had to have a GPA over 2.5. You had to be enrolled in a high school. And then after you became a semifinalist, you had to go through like health screening and stuff. But really, there's not a lot of prereqs. It's open for anyone, like no German requirement, obviously. But I just believe like the 2.5 GPA. And you have to be under 18 when you apply.
So this is definitely high school.
Yes, they have a vocational program and a young professionals program, which would be for ages 18 to 25. In the vocational, you go in and like you do a job. And then for young professionals, you have different internships throughout the country, throughout the year, and travel around. And they have a 2 or 3 month long language camp. It's like 3 months of language camp, 3 months at a German university, and then 3 or 4 months of an internship somewhere. So those are also opportunities for older students. Those take less people. I believe there's like 25 young professionals and 25 or 50 vocational students. So if there's an older person, they're able to do it too.
Here's a question from Dr. Westphal from Marian University.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what percentage of applicants are accepted?
No, I was never able to find a number. I mean, on the website, it's like highly prestigious, which of course they say that, so I really don't know. But yeah, I can't answer that.
I might just add, because I had 2 students apply for it and both moved on and both actually did get it. This was probably 10 or 12 years ago, but one chose not to go. So I don't know. I remember that there is some caveat about your high school credits. So your high school must have accepted your credits.
I had an interesting situation with that too. They said they would not accept any of my German credits, and so they told me I was gonna have to graduate a year later. But I was able to work with my counselor to where I took my sophomore year online during the summer, and so I got like all of those out of the way, minus a few classes that I'm now making up this year because I had like room in my schedule. So I was lucky that my school worked with me. So that is advice I have to anyone who does apply. If you are interested in it all, the second you apply, talk to your school and your counselors to see if you can figure out a workaround or a way to graduate on time if that's important to you. So yeah.
I believe there was some situation like that with my student, as I recall, because she thought she wasn't going to have credit. And there weren't the online courses in, 10, 12 years ago that there are now, but she was able to find whatever class it was, she wasn't going to be able to get to come back for. Hers would have been her senior year. Here's some more comments. Dr. Grossman, who's a retired professor from IUPUI, says, great presentation. Glad to hear you had such a rewarding and impactful experience. Hope you can inspire others to look into this. Ausgezeichnet, says Mark. Becky has another question for you. How long did it take you to be comfortable speaking in German?
So I would say it probably happened around Christmas time. At that point, I felt good. I mean, I messed up all the time, but I felt like comfortable. Like when I walked up to a stranger, I would just start speaking German. And at that point, they were starting to like be able to really understand me and I could hold actual conversations. But by the end, I was comfortable like with every day. But yeah, I'd say so by Christmas time, that would have been about 4.5 months before I became comfortable.
A Christmas miracle.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Then Janet, I think Wendy had a question.
Yeah, I answered it. How many high school CBYX positions are there? Aren't there? They're 250, right?
Yes. Yeah. And like how it is with the cohorts, there's 50 spots available for 11 states, like the Midwest states, there's 11 and there's 50 spots available for those 11 states. I can't list off all the states, but obviously Indiana's in there. So yeah.
And you said you were with you in the Youth for Understanding. So they, as I recall, they basically are the ones that interview. If a teacher has ever had somebody go through the Youth for Understanding selection process, it would be similar really to that.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what they look for, what you have to turn in, because there is a fair amount of paperwork.
Yes, there's a lot of paperwork.
As I remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? I don't see anything else right now. Danke. A lot of dankas.
Yeah, this was just wonderful presentation, very entertaining, well organized, and informative.
Thank
And
you.
Very well spoken.
It's your enthusiasm that comes through. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think Becky is coming back. If I get her. Let's see if she is.
Sending the reaction of clapping.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe
I
I'll
would
see you guys
recommend-
at the Chris Kindle Markt.
Oh, yes.
Well,
You definitely have to go to it.
Yeah.
you can join us on a Wednesday. I know it's a school night, but we
Yeah.
have that Wednesday. Let's see, the 13th. 13th. Okay.
I'll
Thank
put it
you.
in my calendar.
Thank you. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thanks everybody for coming.